Welcome to class, everyone. I'm your professor for today's Masterclass Explainer, and we are going to completely decode exactly how raw resources get transformed into tangible, real-world wealth. Whether you're prepping for a massive final exam or you just want to understand the hidden gears of our economy, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive straight into this concept of production. It is literally the absolute engine of our economy. You'll definitely need to master this for the exam, but more importantly, grasping how we make things and provide services is the fundamental key to understanding why some nations prosper while others just completely stagnate.
So here is our syllabus for today. First, the alchemy of utility. Second, land, the ultimate bottleneck. Third, labor versus mobile capital. Fourth, the entrepreneurial architect. Fifth, overcoming systemic production barriers. And finally, number 6, a final review and practice quiz.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the alchemy of utility, transforming dormant resources into active value. We really need to start with this foundational concept to understand the true purpose behind why we produce anything at all.
So you might be thinking production is just, a mechanical assembly line making things. Actually, scratch that. It's what economists call the alchemy of utility. It's this incredibly sophisticated process of turning raw, completely dormant potential into actual human satisfaction. Think about it like taking a clump of basically worthless sand and transforming its silicon into a highly valuable computer microchip. Simply put, if you aren't increasing usefulness, you aren't truly producing.
And this process happens across 3 brilliant levels of resource maturity. We start at the primary level, that's extracting raw materials straight from the earth, like pulling wheat from a farm or iron from a mine. Then we refine them in the secondary stage. This is manufacturing and construction, turning that raw iron into steel beams. And finally, we hit the tertiary stage. That's the systemic flow of services, things like banking, teaching, and healthcare that actually support and finance those high-value markets.
Moving right along to Section 2, land, the ultimate bottleneck. This is the physical stage for literally all economic activity. It's the ultimate foundation for all 3 of those stages we just talked about.
Now you must remember this for your exams. When economists say land, they mean all natural resources. Minerals, water, climate, soil, the whole shebang. It's a free gift of nature, sure, but it creates a permanent physical ceiling on industrial expansion. Why? Because it has a fixed supply and it is completely immobile. You can't just manufacture more natural resources in a lab. A bustling Manhattan skyscraper relies on the exact same fixed bedrock it was built on a century ago. And because we use it, its specific economic reward is known as rent.
All right, Section 3, labor versus mobile capital, the active human spark versus the man-made multiplier. Now that we have our land, we have to activate it, right? And that brings us to the really fascinating dynamic between human effort and machinery.
So let's see how this builds. Unlike the fixed, totally immobile dirt of land, capital represents mobile, man-made power. It's basically a massive acceleration mechanism that can be transferred and deployed wherever it is most efficient to amplify human effort. Think about it. You can absolutely pack up a tractor and move it to a totally different farm, but there is no way you can move the farm itself.
But here is a major exam trap you need to watch out for when we talk about human effort. Labor, which is that active spark of production, is totally governed by the tragedy of perishable effort. It's kind of like Cinderella at midnight. If human physical or mental energy isn't deployed today, that unused time vanishes forever. You simply cannot warehouse an hour of human work to use next Tuesday.
To stop that fleeting human effort from going to waste, we multiply it with capital. And remember this key distinction. Money isn't capital until it's actually used for production. Capital comes in 3 distinct types. We've got fixed capital, like your durable machines, working capital, which is the consumed fuel and raw materials, and social capital, like the public roads and electricity grids that make private business possible in the first place. Oh, and the economic reward for all this capital? That is interest.
What's really interesting here is the stark contrast between the two. While human labor perishes daily and earns wages, capital machines are incredibly durable and earn interest. But they aren't perfect. Capital suffers from what we call the depreciation trap. That brand new shiny delivery fleet, it wears out, it breaks down, and it requires relentless maintenance just to keep production flowing.
Moving to Section 4, the entrepreneurial architect, risk-bearing and strategic coordination. So, with our land, labor, and capital all set up, we desperately need a visionary to combine them, which brings us to our 4th factor, the entrepreneur.
The entrepreneur is literally the glue holding the entire system together. They are absolutely essential because they have to navigate intense market uncertainty, they bear the risk, they drive the innovation, and they provide the leadership to decide exactly what we're going to produce and why. And because they shoulder the massive burden of the unknown, essentially placing a bet on a future that hasn't even happened yet, they earn a highly volatile reward, which is profit.
As AI and automation totally shift the future value of human work, this distinction is absolutely massive. Machines and basic capital will increasingly handle the physical acts of doing, but the entrepreneur's strategic job of deciding, that uniquely human ability to innovate and lead through completely unpredictable markets, that remains the ultimate competitive advantage, one that is largely immune to automation.
Which brings us to Section 5, Overcoming Systemic Production Barriers. Identifying the friction points of value creation. Because let's be real, even with a flawless plan and a brilliant entrepreneur, this whole economic architecture faces some intense, real-world threats. You will definitely want to jot these specific friction points down for the exam. Environmental degradation, like severe soil erosion, directly threatens our fixed land. A lack of specialized coding or engineering training, that causes a major human capital deficit in our labor. Poor power supply completely cripples our capital, and political instability acts as a massive barrier that prevents entrepreneurs from taking those vital, innovative risks.
Now, if you manage to actually overcome those barriers, beware of the efficiency trap. This is absolutely crucial to understand. Production is just total volume. It's just how much you make. But productivity is efficiency. It's how well you use those resources. Like economists always say, busyness is definitely not the same as productivity. If you burn through tons of inputs just to get a high volume, you are literally destroying wealth, not creating it.
All right, we made it to Section 6, Final Review and Practice Quiz. Testing your understanding of the economic architecture. Okay, class, let's bring this all together. It's time to quickly test what we've learned today to make absolutely sure you are ready for the exam. Take a mental snapshot of this summary. It's basically your ultimate cheat sheet. You need to be able to perfectly map these 4 factors of production to their distinct economic rewards. Land yields rent, labor earns fixed wages, capital generates interest, and the entrepreneur takes home that highly volatile profit. Let's test your memory with a super quick pop quiz. Which factor cannot be manufactured, is completely immobile, and strictly caps our physical expansion? Take a second to think about it. Well, if you said land, you nailed it. You clearly understand that because its supply is so strictly limited, efficient resource allocation is literally our only path forward. You are well on your way to acing this economic systems exam.
Okay, one last, slightly more provocative question for you to ponder as we wrap up our masterclass today. As AI and automation increasingly take over the manual acts of doing, what specific human traits remain untouched?
The answer? Innovation and leadership. Because while machines and capital can assemble the parts flawlessly, only visionary human leadership can truly architect economic wealth and navigate the complete unknown. So, class, as you look at the economy functioning all around you, you have to ask yourself, are you ready to be the architect of your own future? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.